Is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
What a wild week it has been between the baseball winter meetings and all the movements been going on. The Eagles get some good news today. So we got a lot to cover this hour here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. It is a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg will join us coming up in less than 20 minutes. Listen, we played the audio earlier today. Brandon Graham was asked about the 2022 Eagles versus the 2017 Eagles. Dave Weinberg has some thoughts on that, plus your text messages. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You could also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. A lot of stuff to get to. First of all, I want to get to, before we get to the Phillies news that happened last night, I want to get to the Eagles news, because Avonte Maddox getting his 21-day practice window activated. While it might not be a guarantee that he plays this Sunday, it is a promise that he will be available for the Cowboys game. I would argue that this may be one of the most important players to return in forever for this team. I don't think we realize how much teams have abused and taken advantage of Maddox's absence this year. The Eagles have one loss the entire year. It's easy to overlook the fact that this team, as constructed, needs Avonte Maddox. And they need Maddox because Maddox is the kind of player who allows the other players the freedom to do what they do best. Never underestimate the value of a role player. Avonte Maddox is not the best player. He's not the fifth best player. He might not even be the 10th best player on this roster. But he's the guy who allows everyone else on the team to be more effective, to do what they do best. Guys who play their role help the team win. And I think that is where really the conversation for me has to start with Avonte Maddox. Again, I don't know if he's going to be back for this game coming up. I think that might be a little too soon, just because of the fact that, you want the guy to maybe get a little more conditioning under his belt. But I do think that Maddox being in that slot role, what he does is he allows the safeties and the other two outside corners to have to worry a little less. He puts less pressure on the linebackers over the middle. And because he does that, this defense was able to get a ton of turnovers this year. And while Maddox wasn't maybe himself getting those turnovers, he was in the vicinity, allowing his teammates at times to get some of those interceptions and turnovers. So big news for the Eagles today. Avonte Maddox getting his 21-day window activated. More information, go to 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app. Because this Sunday's game against the Giants, Maddox is not going to be the most essential. He is going to be a guy who is going to be more needed maybe the next 2 weeks. Now, I understand the Bears will have a good passing offense, but you need all the bodies you can get to deal with Justin Fields next week. Justin Fields is still a incredible weapon on the field. And I think that having Maddox back puts everybody back into the roles that they do best at. And that is why Maddox coming back is going to be so huge for the Cowboys game, because the Cowboys are going to be the best offense you face the rest of the season. Before you get to the postseason, the Cowboys are the only multi-dimensional dual threat offense that you are going to face. It's the best quarterback. It's the best receiver core. It is the best tandem of running backs you will see the rest of the year. So the more hands you have on deck and the more of them that are healthy, the better chance that you have, if you're the Eagles, to win that game. Now, over to the Phillies. You saw the reporting this morning and last night over at 97.3 ESPN.com, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You would have seen that the Phillies made some important moves. And this gets back to the whole conversation about these moves may not be flashy. Matt Strahm is not in some elite bullpen pitcher. Tawan Walker was once a elite prospect, but he is not, a number one or a number two pitcher. But again, back to the importance of role players. Both of these guys can play an explicit, specific role in these situations. Look, Walker is a guy that I'm curious and excited for because of his age. He's not old enough that you're looking at him like you were Kyle Gibson and be like, man, this guy is closer to the end than the beginning. But he's not young enough that you wonder if he has enough experience to be an innings eater. I think he can come in here and potentially get 180 to 200 innings pitched this year. I think he's a guy that can give the bullpen some relief. He's a guy that has shown you the ability to win important games. And I think that he has a role, just like Matt Strahm has a role. I think that that is exactly what the Phillies need to be doing. They need to be acquiring guys who fulfill a role, who can do a job. And the biggest thing about Walker that I think it's overlooked is that Mets team last year, one of the reasons why they were so successful was because without Jacob deGrom, their starting staff really did a good job between Bassett and Walker and, of course, Scherzer. What if I told you that this is a guy that can just come in here and be a stabilizer? I think that's good enough, and I think that's necessary. Look, you don't want to ask Ranger Suarez to save you every week. You need somebody else to be able to go out there, get some innings, get the job done. I think that's what Walker can do. To me, it's more important to have people fulfilling their roles and doing their job than having a guy who is, some elite prospect who may or may not work out. Look, it sounds all well and good that the Phillies are going to go into spring training with Bailey Falter and Christian Sanchez and Andrew Painter and all those guys competing for that final the final rotation spot. But that's not a guarantee that any of those guys are going to actually be able to do it. I think that the bigger picture is that the Phillies are doing something and other teams are not. Jesse Rogers, MLB reporter for ESPN.com, was on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. And he made a very interesting comment about what the Mets did, because the Mets signed Jose Quintana. And my reaction was, wow, you got Jose Quintana for 2 years and less than $30 million. Well, listen to what Jesse Rogers has to say, because he puts it in great context about the Mets versus the Braves so far in free agency.
Yeah, let me say this. Quintana doesn't come without risk. It's not that long ago that he was on the scrap heap. Now, he revitalized his career, but now he's going to a place that you cannot make a misstep at all. I'm not completely sold that Quintana's back to the guy he was. So that's why maybe he gets a smaller deal, like less sort of faith in him. Walker's a more proven, better pitcher at this moment, in my opinion. So I don't love what the Mets have done so far, even though I love Verlander. At some point, he's going to be, father time catches up to everyone. So I'm still liking what the other teams, including the Phillies, have done better.
He thinks that Walker's a better pitcher than Quintana right now. Now, if you would have asked me and the run-of-the-mill baseball fan, maybe not the diehard, maybe the guy who covers it every day, but someone like me, I would look at Quintana and I'd be more excited about the Phillies getting him than Walker. But you heard Roger say, look, Quintana has issues. There's baggage there. You don't have Walker with that baggage. Baggage is not in Walker's carry-on. Walker is not showing up in Philadelphia with a lot of questions. He is what he is. He's a good pitcher, not a great pitcher. And you heard him say, look, you signed Verlander, he's getting older. At some point, that train's not going to work anymore. Quintana, you never know what you're getting from him sometimes. Walker is consistent. He's reliable. And I think we need to applaud the Phillies for making the big splash in Turner, but then their next couple moves have been moves that basically re-solidify the roster. Shore up the bullpen, get another starter in here. Because guess what? They desperately needed to make sure that they have the arms next season. There is no guarantee that Nola and Wheeler are going to be the 1-2 combo they were this year. And remember, Wheeler missed multiple games as well, pitching with injury issues this year. The Yankees went out and brought back Aaron Judge. And the Mets are going out and trying to get as many big names as possible. But guess what? The Yankees and the Mets, neither one of them have won a championship since, last time Phillies won a championship. I mean, the Mets, it's 86. The Mets have been to the World Series a couple times. The Yankees haven't even been back since 2009 when they beat the Phillies. The Phillies, at this moment in time, have now appeared in the World Series 3 times in the last 22 years. 3. The Mets, they've done it twice. The Yankees, 2003, 2009. It's not that the Phillies are the better organization. It's the Phillies are trying to be smarter and not just go big all the time. And I think that's an interesting thing. Keep an eye on which gamble is going to pay off next season. Is it going to be go big or go home like the Mets? Or is it going to be the Phillies going with the guys who want to be in Philadelphia, who are friends with Bryce Harper, and who could play certain roles? Josh Hennig here on GameNight, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. It is a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg joins me next. Talk more Eagles and Phillies. Hanging out with you guys. Don't forget, we'll get your text messages and your DMs a little bit later in the show. And tonight, Flyers hockey at 7 p.m. versus the Capitals on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Spiro Deed is here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli this week for Thursday Night Football from Southern California when the LA Rams host the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr in Las Vegas are on a roll and looking for a 4th straight win. Can they do it on the road against Sean McVay's injury-struck Rams? Join us to find out on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7:30.
Are you feeling it's a little overdone? Maybe it bogs down like it's overstuffed? Or possibly the appearance will keep your friends and family.
Wait, we're talking about my car, right?
Don't get dragged down this holiday season. Is your current vehicle roasted or overdone? Get to Matt Blatt Nissan, and AJ the Trade Man will fix you up. Then put zero down. Make zero payments till February, and pay just 2.19% APR financing on every new 2023 Nissan Altima or Rogue in stock for 36 months. Plus, used cars are still at an all-time high. Your trade is worth more than you think. And as always, drive away with peace of mind with Matt Blatt Nissan's 4K Love It or Leave It return policy.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Reserve your Nissan today from our huge selection. Negative equity will be refinanced into new vehicle. Interest accrues from date of sale. Not all will qualify. Offers can't be combined. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattnissan.com for complete details. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Welcome to a late night edition of What If, the show where I, Jake from State Farm, answer your insurance what ifs. We've got Sean on the line. What's up?
Hey, Jake, what if I'm too stressed about my coverage to sleep? Like, what if I don't have enough? Or what if I need to change it?
Oh, if you can't sleep, just give us a ring. We're available 24/7. At State Farm, we're there for your what ifs.
Oh, great. What if I just take a little nap?
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching a kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with fresh limited quantity deals each day on tech to power every passion. Save on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget, special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Just call 877-ASK-DELL for Days of Deals savings. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. Call Jenkins because one call does it all. Because we need to make the 97.3 ESPN studio comfortable. That's who we called. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, the plumbing guy, because Chicken Technicians got you covered with everything from new heating and air conditioning installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services. Call 609-641-6262 and online at jenkinsandsons.com. This morning on Good Morning Football on NFL Network, Brandon Graham was asked, what is his thoughts about this current year's team, 2022, versus the team in 2017? This is what Brandon Graham had to say.
Oh, yeah, man. That's why I say, like, it's a great team, that we have. And I feel like it's just different components that we got to get through, that we got through as far as, we wasn't good in the run this year like we was when 2017, and then we great in the past, but we wasn't as good in the past 2017. So it's just different dynamics, different things that you got to attack. But man, I do feel that connection.
Well, a man who covered that 2017 team was Dave Weinberg. He was there covering them every step of the way, and he joins us for another edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, welcome back. How you doing?
Doing well, Josh. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So your thoughts on the 2017 versus 2022 debate?
Well, I'm a little biased maybe because I was like kind of close to the 2017 team. Like you said, covered every game, followed them throughout the entire season all the way to Minnesota. I would kind of give them the edge only because they won the Super Bowl. I mean, my viewpoint might change later depending on how this year's team makes out in the playoffs, but as of now, I'm going to lean towards 2017.
I think what Graham said was fair, though, because there are a lot of similarities. There are still guys even played on that team who are still on this team, like Brandon, like Fletcher. So it's not like there's a massive difference in the teams. To me, I said earlier, Dave, and I love your thought on this. To me, it's about the culture. To me, Brandon Graham was one of the leaders in that locker room. That locker room felt like, to me, on the outside looking in, and everything I read and heard, that was Brandon Graham's locker room. That was Jason Kelsey's locker room, right?
Right.
I don't think, I'm not saying that the guys are not good leaders on this team, but I guarantee you, if Malcolm Jenkins from 2017 was in this year's locker room, they're not missing that many tackles this year. They're not playing so poorly on the run defense. And I think leadership and culture matters.
Yeah, I heard you kind of allude to it earlier in your show or with Mike or whatever that yeah, there was a lot more veteran leadership, I think, in 2017. It seemed like each position had that guy who could kind of take charge of that particular position and make sure and hold guys accountable and hold themselves accountable too. But yeah, Malcolm was very, very strong leader in that locker room. But they were all through that team. There was guys similar to that, whether it was Chris Long or Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham or what have you, LeGarrette Blount. They seem to have like those guys, Jason Kelsey or Jason Peters, even though he got hurt that year, he was still a very strong leader too. So yeah, it was a different kind of locker room, I think, only because of, like I said, because of the veteran leadership.
Yeah, I'm not saying this year's locker room is a bad locker room, but it is different.
Absolutely. I agree.
And I think that it's also two completely different offenses. Doug Peterson had his offense. The Sirianni flourishes / Steichen offense is completely different as well. So, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but listen, people are going to ask the question, and I appreciate that Brandon tried to answer the best way he could this morning.
Yeah, he kind of danced around it, which you would expect from somebody who's played on both teams. He doesn't want to give the edge to either one, and I can certainly respect that. Another thing, like I might have suggested to you in a text, was that I kind of favored the 2017 because of the coaching staff as well. Just because of the group that they had with Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz and even the position coaches and coordinators were all veteran guys who had been around, who've played in the league, who coached in the league. And I don't know what the culture is really like this year, but I know in 2017, Doug had complete command of that locker room and that team. And that's one of the reasons why I favor them as well.
I mean, we certainly know that, this team would have been better off with Dave Phipp than Mike Clay this year. No offense to him, but I mean,
they did have a good game last week, but yeah,
they had one good game, Dave, after people have been complaining for about 6 weeks. Like at some point, it's like, I mean, I would love to know who's the person who like went into Clay's office and was like, dude, you got to clean this up, man. Like, what do we got to do to fix this?
Yeah, I'm assuming it was Sirianni. I don't know for a fact.
I would hope.
Yeah, you would think so. Yeah, so somebody read in the riot act. I think. I would hope.
I mean, they literally changed like a third of the personnel on the special teams. They literally called Ellis up just to play special teams. Like the Kobe Dean, he was flying all over the place on defense and on special teams. It was like, where has this been all year?
Yeah, that's kind of what you need with special teams. You need guys who are willing to just play that. It does help to have some starters playing too. I remember Malcolm Jenkins actually playing special teams in 2017. So, you have guys that are willing to sacrifice, for that too. But yeah, you need like the Brian Bremans of the world and those kind of guys who are willing to just like go all out on the coverage units and stuff. And I guess that's what the sales guy does too for them.
And listen, that is to me, I think one of the biggest differences is that the Doug Peterson era really put an emphasis, for better or for worse, okay, on the special teams. Like guys, you mentioned Brian Bremen, Matt Collins. Those guys were literally here because they had a role on special teams.
Yep.
I don't think this current coaching staff values special teams and those personnel in the same way. I think the big reason why it's come to bite them a few times this year.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they place importance on it. I mean, you have to because it's such as 1/3 of the game, and it's a very important part of it too. So you can't slack off on special teams, so that's going to wind up biting you. And you're right. I mean, Doug Peterson did a great job. I think he probably got that from Andy Reid, who made John Harbaugh his special teams coordinator. Actually, I think Ray Rhodes might have given him his first job. I forget, but yeah, I mean. You got to have a strong voice on special teams. You got to have players that are willing to commit to that. And for whatever reason, they don't seem to have it yet, but maybe they're getting there this year.
Dave, I want to ask you about Sunday's win. Obviously, one of the big conversations we've been having for weeks has been about the run defense, right? And even though it's been getting better, we were like, well, look, you're not doing it against Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. Well, they just saw Derrick Henry, and they held him to a season low in rushing yards.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the defense as of right now?
Well, the game kind of dictated that. I mean, they seem the Eagles do a very good job of exploiting another team's weakness. Tennessee had a great rushing offense, passing offense, not so much. So by getting a quick lead, they were able to force Tennessee to throw the ball and took advantage of that. Derrick Henry's one of those guys. He keeps pounding and wears you down. But it became pretty evident that the Titans couldn't afford to do that if they wanted to even like try to stay in the game. I mean, but all credit to you, they shut them down early, which was a big part of their win.
I was just happy to see them play their assignments. You guys get you got to fill your void. You got to fill your gap. I heard a lot of guys who played in the NFL. I heard Brian Baldinger say it on NFL Network. I heard Dave Clemick say it this past weekend here on 97.3. They were talking about, look, Derrick Henry's a guy that you got to stop him before he gets started. You got to hit him at the line of scrimmage. And I don't think Eagles did a great job at just throwing bodies in the lanes and not letting him get started. And I have to say, I have to give them a lot of credit because you know what? That's not the same defense, Dave, that I saw, getting sliced and diced against other run teams.
Yeah, that's true. They did a great job of preventing him from getting to the second level because he's that big, powerful guy who once he gets rolling, he's really going to inflict some damage on you. So yeah, it's really important to stop him before he gets on a roll. That's true. It's going to be interesting to see if they can still do it this Sunday against Saquon Barkley, and he's kind of like that same kind of running back, although he's a little more shiftier, I guess, than Derrick. Derrick's more of like a straight ahead kind of guy, but it'd be the same challenge though. They have to, like you said, fill the lanes up front and keep him from getting going too.
Dave Weinberg joining us for an edition of Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Over at 97.3 ESPN.com where you find Dave's columns for us and also on Twitter at Dave Weinberg19. Dave, speaking of the Giants game coming up, I think the biggest difference to the Titans and the Giants is something that I know it's not sexy to talk about, but I think it's the offensive line. I think the Giants O-line has performed better in the last several weeks than an injured and beat up Titans O-line. I think that might be where the biggest challenge is. How do the Eagles handle an O-line that is better than what they saw the last couple weeks?
Yeah, that's true. They are much improved. I mean, they don't get a whole lot of credit or a lot of notoriety, but yeah, they're much better up front than they used to be, and definitely better than Tennessee's. I'm worried about, well, not worried. I'm just kind of interested to see what happens with the Giants. Like, where's Daniel Jones going to throw the ball? I mean, I don't, other than Slayton, they really don't have a whole lot of else. It seems like every wide receiver is on their injured list. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can find people to get open against the Eagles secondary, which has played terrific to this point.
Oh, the infamous Ricky James. You could throw it to him, right?
There you go. There you go.
It's funny because we were talking about this earlier. Like, that's the biggest problem for this Giants team. And that's like, they've brought in all these guys over the years, all this talent, right? And they just can't. Like, Kenny Galladay is supposed to be back for this week. Dave, he's still on the injury report with an illness. Like,
yeah.
The guy hasn't played almost the entire year. He hasn't played almost at all since he got signed that massive contract. And he's still missing some practice with an illness. Like, at some point, you're just like, was everyone signed during that, like, Dave Gettleman era just like cursed or something? It feels like that.
Yeah.
They got to keep purging the roster to like fix this problem.
Yeah, they've really been snake bitten when it comes to wide receivers, that's for sure. I'd be really like interested. I know they probably wouldn't happen, but are they interested at all in Odell Beckham Jr.? I know he's been there before, and maybe that's water under the bridge or whatever you call it.
OBJ did meet with them. They did have a meeting, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that seemed like that would make a whole lot of sense. Although I imagine there were some bridges burned when he left the first time. So, but if anybody needs wide receivers, it's the Giants. And he's
here's what I'll say. The bridges were burned with the previous administration.
True. Yeah.
This is a new coaching staff. This is a new GM. So, maybe Odell looks at it like, hey, I can work with these. Now, the problem with Odell is, and I've mentioned this earlier this week, Dave, Odell just tore up his knee in February. We have no idea how far along he is. If Jerry Jones is starting to pump the brakes on signing OBJ, and we know Jerry loves his stars. He loves getting the biggest. Remember, Jerry's the guy who won the draft, Johnny Manziel, coming out of college, for goodness sake.
Yep.
If Jerry's saying, well, we don't know about Odell, what does Odell really have? What does Odell really have for the final month of the season, basically?
Yeah, from what I've heard and read, he's probably not physically ready to play right now. That might be the main stumbling block that's keeping him from joining a team. You also have to factor in like we've talked so often about the culture aspect. What does he do? Does he hurt or help a team's locker room? The Giants, I don't know if they have that veteran leadership that would be able to overcome a strong personality like him. So that's a pretty important factor that you have to consider when you're going after a guy like that, I think.
Absolutely. Dave, I want to get to the Phillies with you before I let you go. Sure. Trey Turner, it's official. He is with the Phillies. I want to ask you, I mentioned this earlier this week, and I want to ask you here. Does it feel at all like the Roy Halladay situation? When the Phillies lost the 2009 World Series, the very next offseason, they went and got Roy Halladay. The Phillies lost the World Series this year. The very next offseason, they get Trey Turner.
Maybe. Everybody knew that they were going to go after a shortstop, and they got the best in the league. So that's a huge upgrade for them. I guess you move Stott to second base at this point after you lost Segura, I guess. So, yeah, I guess they're still going for it. They came so close this year that they evidently, they rightfully believe that they're still they're right on the cusp, and a couple moves here and there they might be able to get back. So yeah, I was definitely in favor of it. I think that's a great move for them. Great signing. A lot of money, but what the heck? It's not my money, so.
Well, if you're going to spend it on somebody, spend it on somebody worthwhile, right?
Yeah, and he's definitely that. Yep, that's true.
I mean, listen, I'm not trying to speak ill of anybody, but listen, I'll tell you right now, when I saw the Yankees give Aaron Judge all that money, the first thing I thought of was who's pitching for this team?
For the
Like
Yankees or the
who's
Phillies?
pitching for the Yankees?
Yeah, true.
Like outside of Cortez and Cole, I mean, there's almost nobody of like respect. The Phillies, they were able to go out and get Taijuan Walker in part because they don't need a 1 or a 2 or a 3. They need a guy who's going to be better than Kyle Gibson, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Although I'm not the 1 and the 2, I agree with you on. I don't know about Ranger Suarez though. I mean, I know he's.
Okay.
I don't think a sample size is big enough to know that he's going to be your, being counted on, so to speak. I know he pitched well, but I don't know, just something about the guy. I don't trust him quite yet. I mean, I hopefully he'll change my mind as the season goes on.
Well, look, Walker for most of last year was the Mets number 3 until DeGrom came back from his injury. So, maybe you don't need Ranger to be a literal 3, but the idea is that maybe the combination of Walker and Ranger, they kind of even each other out. I think maybe that's the hope because, Walker's turning 30 years old. He's not old. He's not young. He's a guy who can chew up innings. And people forget that this guy, when he first was a prospect, he was considered like one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball. Now, he obviously hasn't lived up to it, but, neither did Wheeler per se, and he came to Philadelphia and look what happened.
That's true. Plus, the Phillies have all those young arms that are almost ready to come up, if not ready now. So it's good. It's a great problem to have that so much depth in your rotation.
Well, they needed it last year, Dave, so you could argue they might need it again this year.
Yeah, true. That's true. I mean, injuries always play a part. That's for sure.
Yeah, for those who don't know, so the Phillies' reported plan is, for those who don't know, they're going to take Bailey Falter, Christian Sanchez, Andrew Painter, and a couple other guys all down the spring training and basically just have an open competition to see who the best option is. And I love it. Let the guys go out there and let the cream rise to the top.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, they have a lot of talent, young talent. So yeah, let them go out there and throw and compete, and may the best arm win. That's for sure. Yep.
When you look at this lineup next year, where do you want Trey Turner hitting in the lineup?
I've heard all kinds of talk about this. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you think it matters if Bryce Harper's there or not?
I think the lineup will look a little different for sure when Harper's in versus out. I think when Harper's in the lineup, you can have that, that fun left-right scenario. I think without Harper, your goal needs to have just the best players possible in there.
Yeah, and by that thinking, I'm batting Turner leadoff regardless, though. Yeah, with all his, he has all the tools, power, average, stolen bases is a big thing. I mean, Schwarber did a nice job in the leadoff spot, no doubt, but he struck out way too much for me, and they only hit what 220, if that. I don't know. So yeah, I'd much rather have a guy for a higher average at the top of my lineup, guys going to get on base, as opposed to hitting home runs.
I mean, I think my bigger beef is I don't want Hoskins near the top of the lineup. And,
okay.
I honestly, what I would like to see is personally, I would go Turner 1, Bohm 2.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
I think Bohm showed you for like a 2.5 month period how good of it. He hit over 300 for 2.5 months this year.
Yeah.
From June to almost August. He was hitting really good, Dave, and you could argue if it wasn't for Schwarber's monster June and then Bohm steadying them for that lull in July, this team might not have even gotten to a position to be in the playoffs when Harper returned.
No, very true. Yeah, Bohm had a great year that was kind of like underrated a little bit. Yeah, that's a good move. I could see him batting too. Definitely.
Because I also think that Marsh is going to stay in that 9 spot. I really feel like that Thompson must really like Marsh near the bottom of that lineup. So I feel like, I want as many guys who I know are going to make contact near the top of the lineup and then knock down a guy like Hoskins who's boom or bust.
Yeah, I get the feeling you're not a big Reese fan, huh?
Well, I mean, it would be nice if a professional first baseman was a better fielder than me. It might be a good idea.
Well, hopefully he'll work on that in spring training and get a little better at it. Yeah.
I mean, the answer that Dombrowski gave at the end of season presser, where he was like, "Oh well, I assume Hoskins will work on it." Like Thanks.
Yeah.
Dude. That's really reassuring to every Phillies fan who lost years off of their life watching Hoskins botch balls at first base of the postseason.
Yeah. Well, Baum improved his game, so hopefully Reese can take a little something out of that.
Yeah, well, Bohm is also a very good athlete. You know what
he
I
is.
mean?
Definitely all around athlete. Yep.
No offense to Hoskins.
Yeah.
Hoskins wasn't a top 3 pick in the Major League Baseball draft.
Did Hoskins play football? Do you know? I thought I remember a bunch.
I thought he played football in high school.
Did he? Yeah. I know Rio Muto was a big football player, right?
Yeah. Well, Ramuto, I believe, he was All-State or something like that. So.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm sure Hoskins has a little bit of athletic ability, or else he wouldn't be in the majors. But yeah,
that's true. That's true.
But yeah, hopefully he'll be able to improve. What do you think of Stott? Do you like him too?
I like Stott's attitude a lot.
Yeah,
to me, I look at Bryson and I just see a guy who's he's kind of got that edge to him, doesn't he, Dave? He's got that attitude of I'm going to go up there and I'm going to foul off some balls and I'm going to work a count and I'm going to, bust my rear down the line to first base.
Yeah, you need guys like that, guys who do the little things that often don't show up. Like you said, taking pitchers deeper into counts and fouling balls off, like you said, hitting the opposite way, just doing the little stuff that sometimes goes unnoticed. He's that kind of player, and you need those kind of players in your lineup.
I mean, basically, Stott is like the opposite of Odubel Herrera at this point.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, not even close. Yep, they're apples and oranges. Yep, that's the truth. Yeah.
Give him a follow on Twitter at Dave Weinberg 19. Extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. He joins us every Wednesday to talk Eagles and Phillies and whatever else may come up down the line. You never know what we might get into on a Wednesday. Dave, always appreciate you jumping on, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks very much, Josh, as always. I appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Back to the text board in just a bit. Jeff in Ocean City, Dan in EHT. You're texted more. Next,
it's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
Get it in front, they scored! Great puck movement.
The Flyers host the Washington Capitals tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
Up at the dealership, people pause. Out comes good old trade-in clause. The perfect time of year to upgrade your ride. Trade in your car while the values are high.
Bring any trade to Matt Blatt Kia and drive home in a brand new Kia, even with 0 down and 0% APR financing for 36 months. Don't see your new Kia on the lot today? That doesn't mean you can't drive it home tomorrow with peace of mind. Matt Blatt Kia's exclusive 4-day love it or leave it return policy. So if you have a job clearing $350 per week at Matt Blatt Kia, you're virtually approved. So why pay more when you can pay 0% with 0 down?
Ho, ho, ho. Boys, we're going to Matt Blatt Kia.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Requalifications exist with approved credit. $27.78 per thousand finance on in-stock 2023 Sorrento Hybrid. Not all will qualify. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-506-4132. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Expires 12/31/22. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 and Tom's River.
At the Home Depot, we have the tools to make gift-giving magic for all the DIYers on your list. If they prefer working on real homes over gingerbread houses, you can't go wrong with Makita Power Tools, like the 18-volt 2-tool kit for only $249, or the 18-volt compact circular saw for only $139. Get everything you need to get it done with new lower prices on Makita Power Tools only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
When choosing a wireless provider, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no-contract, no-credit check carrier for you and your family, with plans starting at just $30 a month on America's most reliable 5G network. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide, based on first-place rankings and RootMetrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences may vary, not an endorsement.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Pennzoil Platinum can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP extended life oil filter for only $38.99. Get everything you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Come one, shop all at the JCPenney Friends and Family Sale. Through Wednesday, use your 30% off coupon inside the JCP app and shine on with up to 60% off diamond solitaires and studs. Plus, get carried away with up to 70% off luggage from Samsonite, American Tourister, Skyway, and more. Anyone shops, everyone saves. We got your holiday. JCPenney. Offers valid on select items through 12/7. Offers reflect after coupon savings. Exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Hi, I'm Larry Mintz. When dealing with a workers' compensation claim, in most cases, the injured worker doesn't get the money they're entitled to. That's why you need the right lawyer. When injured on the job, call us first. We'll speak with you for free and get you all the money and benefits you deserve.
Make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler. Call us at 609-344-7131. That's 609-344-7131. Or visit us online at gmslaw.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
As promised, I want to get to all your messages here on Game Night before we have Flyers hockey at the top of the hour. 7 p.m. is the puck drop here on 97.3 ESPN. And of course, all your Flyers coverage over on our website at 973ESPN.com, the 973 ESPN mobile app. You also listen to Flyers games on the app too, which is pretty cool as well. Over on the text board, a bunch of messages. Get to them all the order they came in. 609-403-0973. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in. Says, Josh, my answer on which team is better for the Eagles is time will tell. Yes, the argument is the 2022 team is better resonates with me. However, there are still 5 games remaining. And playoffs for the final chapter is written on this team. I say continue one game at a time. That's Jeff in Ocean City. Listen, Jeff, I hear what you're saying. I think that it comes down to this. I think the 2022 team has more elite talent on the roster, but I think that the team back in 2017 was a better unit, a better culture. And I think that culture, that leadership elevated guys above and beyond what their actual ability was. Because we saw guys like Vaitai go on to play for the Lions. And we saw guys, different players on the team go on and play for other teams. And it just wasn't the same. They weren't able to replicate some of what they did here. I mean, Nigel Bradham is out of the league altogether at this point. Darby was never the same after that point. Jalen Mills is a small tier player basically with New England at this point. So, I mean, you could argue those guys, the leadership and the culture elevated everybody that year. Dan EHC chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, Josh, I think Taijuan Walker's pass is comparable to Zach Wheeler. He came off significant injuries with the Mets, came back with some success, and then signed with the Phillies heading into his prime. I'm not saying that Walker's talent is as high as the ceiling as Wheeler, but I'm just saying that there is a comparable analogy here. That's from Dan EHC. It's an excellent point, Dan, and I mentioned it with Dave. I think that we don't always appreciate the fact that some pitchers are just not all they can be on day 1 or day 2 or day 5 or year 5. It takes certain guys longer to develop and evolve than other guys. And I think Walker just might be one of those guys. Look, there were games last year that I watched him and I thought, oh my goodness, this guy's amazing. And other games I watched him, I was like, he's all right. Listen, I don't need Taijuan Walker to be the best pitcher in Philadelphia. If you're a Phillies fan, you need Walker to be better than Noah Syndergaard and Kyle Gibson last year. If he can give you that, he's more than worth the 4 years and was it $72 million and he's getting paid. Mike in Hamilton chimes in and says, Josh, as always, a good show. I appreciate listening to you. Thank you, Mike in Hamilton, for listening. Mike Hamilton says, I would rather have a 49-year-old Terrell Owens come out of retirement than the Eagles sign Odell Beckham Jr. because of the history with injuries. I know it's crazy to say, but T.O. could probably still play. Oh, no. T.O. can still play. I would be willing to wager that T.O. right now could walk into an NFL locker room, suit up, and be just as good as at minimum half the league. I saw that dude run a sub 4.40 recently. He looks like he's in better shape physically now than he was back in 2004 in Philadelphia. So I totally hear what you're saying. Mike and Hamilton, it's not that crazy. He definitely is in a better place now than he was years ago. Joey D. and Ventnor chimes in and says, Josh, what are your thoughts on the new MLB rules with the only 2 throws over per batter, the pitch clock and the hitting clock? First of all, I'm a fan of the pitch clock. I know it's a bit of a I'm trying to think of the word I'm thinking of. It flies in the face of tradition of how people view baseball for 100 plus years. But I think that in today's world with the short attention spans, with people always with their head stuck in their phone, they can't have conversations anymore. I mean, one of the most difficult things in today's society is the fact that these social media devices, these phones, which are basically really just tiny computers in the palm of our hands, it has destroyed our ability to socialize with each other. You can't go out in public and not see multiple people with their head buried in their phone, not talking to the person next to them. The attention spans of people are so small that you have to grab them when they can. Look, we've all been guilty of it. We've all had our phone out. We miss something that's going on, and we have to hit the rewind button when we're watching a game at home. And now you expect somebody to go to a baseball game in person and have their attention span focused in when the batter is adjusting his gloves 20 million times, the pitcher steps off 200 times, and the pitcher is asking the catcher to go through the signs again. I'm fine with the new rules. Listen, if we could do anything to make the game a better pace, I'm for it. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Flyers hockey next.
Health update with Robin Stoll.
Shout out to the YouTube audience watching at Josh Hennig on YouTube. I'm not going to be here long. I got some things I got to take care of, but I always appreciate everybody following on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. See, my mind is stuck on what I was just saying about the baseball rules. You know, one of the things I try to explain to people a lot is when it comes to anything, how do you market yourself to the people who are not following you every single day? One of the reasons why football has become the number one sport in America is because the NFL has done a great job, and so has college football, by the way, at appealing to and marketing to the people who are not following the sport every single day, every hour of the day. They create the desired effect of you have to be there for the game, for the moment. And I think that is maybe where sports like baseball don't always get it. I think this is where the baseball traditionalist, the person who is a diehard baseball fan, the person who, I love the strategy of the game. Well, baseball, like any sport, will not survive financially if they can't draw in the casual to intermediate fan. One of the things that has been proven time and time again in multiple industries of business is how do you create repeat customers from the people who may not be your core audience? Look at the restaurant industry. If the person who works as a waitress or waiter or the bartender knows a customer by name, that's the diehard fan. That's the regular. But what is the business doing to draw in the person who may just drive past you and not stop? How do you draw in the person who is not the everyday regular customer? And how do you get them to come back again and again? Because they might not come back every week, but they can come back twice a month. That's 2 more times a month that you didn't have before. Look at the Marvel movies. The Marvel movies make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. They outpace almost every other film franchise year in and year out. But they do it because they have found a way to appeal to the people who are not the diehard comic book fan. They found a way to draw in the person who is not just going there because they read 200 Spider-Man comics. No, they're drawing in the person who saw 1 Spider-Man movie or 2 Spider-Man movies or 5 Marvel movies, and they're bringing them into the fold and they're drawing them back as a repeat customer. And that person may have no idea that Ant-Man Quantumania is coming out next year, but they know that when the next Marvel movie comes out, they'll go and watch and they'll invest themselves and they'll spend their money. And that's the problem with sports like baseball. You got to stop marketing yourself only to your diehard fan base. You got to find a way to bring in the other fans. And that is why I love things like the pitch clock, because you're giving the casual to intermediate baseball fan a reason to be engaged, to not lose their attention, to not pick up their cell phone and focus on that. You're giving them a reason to pay attention to the game on the field instead of giving them a reason to turn away from the game, whether it's in person or changing the channel. Thanks for watching on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter at Josh Hennig as well. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, and live each and every day on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, and I'll catch you tomorrow.